David, well, welcome to the February meeting. That was technical advisory committee. Appreciate everybody being here. I think we'll start by we'll go around here with introduction. We'll start with Damian.
Damian Stern, NDOT District 2.
Morris Hinchey, NDOT District 2.
Austin Rouser, City of Omaha.
Joe Susi, La Vista Public Works.
Gareth Cavado, La Vista Public Works.
Carlos Morales, MAPA.
Dylan Anderson, City of La Vista.
Mark McLaughlin, City of Omaha Planning.
Brian Guy, City of Omaha Public Works.
Court Barber, MAPA.
Matt Cox, Council Plus Public Works.
Mark Augustine, Council Plus Public Works.
NDOT Strategic Planning.
Great, City Grid.
Lindsay Button, Transportation Planner, MAPA.
Tim Adams, WSP.
Jim Warner, MAPA.
That is the room. Is there anyone online that would like to introduce themselves?
Travis Holm, Iowa DOT.
Dan Carpenter, Benish.
Andy Wicks, Potawatomi County.
Jeff Subcheck, City of Omaha, Public Works.
Joan Green, ENA Consulting.
Okay, well, thanks everyone.
It just occurred to me, Greg, I didn't realize you were actually sitting in, I mean, it makes sense you're sitting in for Greta. That should be fine.
So we have
Okay,
four.
if you're, yeah, if you're sitting in on behalf of the city, then. Good. Yeah. All right, and that's it.
Excellent. Settled it. Good. We'll move into the action items first. Item P1 for approval is approval of the minutes. We have two meetings, December 5th and January 16th. Did not have a January quorum, so the December minutes are still out there. So discussion on those. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
We'll move.
Go to second. Second by Brian. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B2. These are recommendations to MAPA's Board of Directors. B2 is the Iowa Statewide Urban Design and Specifications or SUDAS appointment. And
Yeah, I'll kind of give you a quick rundown of it. So yeah, this is Iowa's statewide urban design specifications board. Basically, they're maintaining the manuals. Or they work with the Institute for Transportation at Iowa State to maintain the manuals, and they basically there's every 2 years there's an appointment from this region to that board. In the past, Matt has served from the city of Council Bluffs as our region's representative. Matt has expressed interest in continuing in that role. But basically what we're asking for is a recommendation to our board to make an appointment from the region. Matt, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah. Typical standard specifications, design manual is what SUDAS represents. They do ask for anyone on the board to be an Iowa PE, since we are basically writing specifications that people will use in the contract documents. Other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot of other volunteers for the position, so.
not a long line there.
Yeah, no.
Well, if there were, you're doing great.
They actually have me as vice chair of the board, so they'll be disappointed if I don't agree with it.
No pressure, but I'm gonna take a motion.
Do you guys review the MUTCD on behalf of the state? Does it go through the SUDAS before it gets adopted by the state?
No.
No.
Any other questions, comments? Give a motion to recommend that to the board for CSP.
Motion to recommend Matt.
Second.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Be opposed? Right, Ned. Safe. Thank you.
All right.
Item B3 is amendment 4 to the fiscal year 2026 transportation improvement plan. Work.
Yep, it's all me. So basically, there's a whole bunch of lines here showing changes that are basically one overall change. I'm updating the section 5310 program, so this is paratransit funding for the region. Basically, we're getting ready to submit grants both at the local level and then also at the state levels in Iowa and Nebraska for vehicle purchases as well as service contracts within the region. It's been kind of a yearly thing where I've got to go in and make some updates so that everything lines up, so that I'm applying for the right amount, and then both state DOTs know how much they're going to be applying for. So this is basically just me cleaning up the program to kind of align everything based on what was purchased last year versus what we're looking at purchasing this year. The primary goal is actually so that we can get some FY24 funds obligated. If those don't get obligated by the end of this federal fiscal year, we lose them. So that's kind of the main thing. We want to get those funds in there. So I'm basically just kind of moving some stuff around. I'm also cleaning up some of the project descriptions. In the past, the way that I've, without going into too much detail, I have more detail in the tip than I actually need in there. And it makes it a little bit difficult to maintain it as we're going through some of these updates. So I'm removing some of the detail and kind of aggregating it in the project description, saying like who the subrecipients are, but not being entirely specific about which dollar amounts are which. It's just basically a program maintenance thing that I'm trying to clean up. So that's effectively what we're doing here. I don't know if anybody has some questions about it, but yeah, I'm requesting a motion to recommend this amendment so that we can get these funds put into the Federal Transit Administration system.
So with those being FTA funds, is Metro the recipient?
No, Metro is not a recipient of these funds. It's MAPA and the state DOTs that are identified as the recipients of these funds. Most other transit funds, Metro would be the recipient for, but section 5310 is managed by MAPA and the state DOTs.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Not, I would entertain a motion to recommend the amendment. We'll move. Like you. Second. Motion is second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. That concludes our action items. We'll move on to item C, which is our discussion items. C1 is public comment. Any members of the public in attendance are allowed to speak. Speak now or further hold your peace. Anyone has any comments? We'd love to hear it. Right. Hearing none, we'll move on to item C2, obligation report Q1 FFY 2026.
Yeah.
Court control.
Yeah, I'll start with so basically we're just going through and showing everybody where we sit after the first quarter of federal fiscal year 26. Not a whole lot has been obligated on the STBG side. The colors on the project list, basically you're going to see red, yellow, and green. If it is red, that means that funds haven't been obligated yet, and I don't have a great idea of where the project sits. So right now, that's 2 projects, Douglas and Sarpy County on the SDBG side. Nobody here from those orgs, so I'll get with them separately to discuss exactly where those projects are. I'm fairly confident in them, but not 100%. Whereas all the other projects on the list, I've got a pretty good idea that those are going to be moving forward this year. If anybody doesn't feel like that is the case, you see a project on there, particularly Omaha. If any of those projects you're thinking they might not end up being obligated, but as far as the last coordination meeting with NDOT, it seemed like these things are all moving forward. So I was pretty confident in most of those.
I believe I just saw a program for next segment.
Yeah, that was what was on the notes. I missed the coordination meeting this month, but I looked over the notes. It seemed like these things were moving forward, so.
And one of the things that we're trying to stress here is help us help you. We want to make sure our job as the MPO is to ensure that your money is ready to get spent. And so you're going for procurement and you don't have a program agreement, it's not in the TIP. You're gonna face delays and we're gonna have to push out the funding to a different year. The more we do that, the less opportunities we have to spend these funds. So we wanna maximize our expenditures, make sure that things are on the rails and moving forward. So every quarter, we're trying to get a sense from our public works partners where you are. We're not trying to be too intrusive, we're just trying to ensure that projects are getting facilitated, moving forward. And most importantly, the money is there for when you need it. We would hate to have to push out funding to a different year and your project goes through this year and then you don't have the funds, right? So help us help you. This is just continuous maintenance of what we're doing for SDG TAP and CRP.
Yep, CRP will be on this. Yeah, this is just SDBG so far, and then we'll get into TAP and CRP. And yeah, and when we get into the Q2 update in a few months, that's when I'll be really asking questions, because I'll be developing the 2027 program and anything that needs to be captured, things that are gonna slide into that. I wanna have that set up as best I can for that. And I know not everybody's got perfect information in the summertime when we're looking at something that's gonna go live in the fall, but I wanna try to get it as close as possible to how the program's gonna look.
So tell me what
Yeah.
again moves a project from red to yellow?
Basically, green is, I know the funding's been obligated, so I get reports from the state DOTs that say like if funding for a certain project for a certain phase has been obligated. And I get those quarterly on the Iowa side and monthly on the Nebraska side. So that's basically what informs all of this. That's how I know kind of where the program sits, what the balance is, and which projects are actually moving forward. Yellow is, I'm pretty confident that that's gonna move forward within this fiscal year, because of just from conversations with the project sponsor, or, project sponsor might be MAPA, and then, that's kind of up to us whether we get a program agreement worked out with NDOT, but that's basically it. And red is, I know that we have it programmed, but I'm not actually sure what's going on with the project. So it just indicates that I need to have a conversation with those entities. And these are all the projects with phases in the current fiscal year. So if you might have a project that's in the TIP, but if you don't have a funding program in this fiscal year, it won't show up on this. This is what we've got, program for TAP. Council Bluffs City County Connector Trail, that funding has already been obligated. They hit their letting, which was great. That project's been in the TIP for a little bit. I'm glad to see it moving forward. And then we've got, I'm not 100% sure if Vista's moving forward with right of way on Thompson Creek Trail. That was the only one that I wasn't. That'll be early year. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that'll probably make it. So I'll switch that to yellow, and then we'll just keep an eye on these over the next few months as I'm putting the 2027 program together. And then for the carbon reduction program, I've got 2 Council Bluffs projects that I'm interested in figuring out if some of that stuff's gonna move forward this year. The trail connection, I'll talk to Parks about that, I'll talk with Parks about that project, but the signal cabinets, I wasn't sure if y'all are sure if you're moving forward with preliminary phase on that this year, or if that's gonna slide.
Yes, that's gonna slide.
Okay, all right, then I'll make a note of that in the tip and in my notes, and I'll check back in with you as I'm putting the 27 program together, and if that needs to happen, we'll slide that into the next year.
Part of the reason I say that, so we agree, we got this Safe Streets for All right here.
Mhm.
And that was gonna be some preliminary work that feed into this.
Okay. Yeah.
That has been bogged down. We still don't have an agreement for that from Fed Highway West and through the Iowa DOT, so we're kind of stuck waiting on them to proceed.
Okay.
So because that has slowed, I think this project will also slow.
Okay, that works for me. All right. But I think that's it. At least for those pieces. We did want to touch on applications we received this year. So for new projects, we got 7 mini grant applications, which I believe this comes out to the largest mini grant request that we've had since we started that set aside. The mini grant committee is going to meet in March. I forget which date, but early to mid-March. And we'll basically be talking about each of the projects and which ones they're gonna recommend moving forward. And then that'll ultimately come back to TTAC as we're developing the draft 2027 TID to talk about.
March 17th.
March 17th. All right. Mini grant committee is gonna meet March 17th. And yeah, so quite a turnout under this program. I was a little surprised. We don't usually get the applications for it, but and then on the, I don't actually think I have stats on it, but on the amendments side, most of the requests were TAP and CRP related. I think we got one request for an amendment to an SDBG project, and that will be, I've got a pros-con meeting scheduled for that. And then we'll also discuss some of the TAP and CRP requests too at the pros-con meeting, because we might need to discuss moving some things around in amongst the programs if we want to fund everything, but that'll be discussions for TAP C and pros-con. That's basically what we were looking at as far as applications on this latest call for project.
Can you remind us, does the mini grant program have a maximum available funding amount that this is going to be fit into?
We never set like a maximum for it. There's a target. 250,000 on the Nebraska side, 110 on the Iowa side, something right around there, something like that. I forget exactly how much it is, but so this significantly exceeds the target. So we'll have to have some conversation. What I want to know first is whether the mini grant committee feels like all of these are worth funding, and then we'll have a larger conversation about whether we want to put all of them into the SDBG program.
And if they are shifted to SPBG, does that modify the requirements for any of the projects moving forward? I mean, is there any additional oversight or anything if the funding comes from SPBG?
So
rather than
the mini grant program it's a regional set aside of SPBG.
delegated subs?
So that target is STBG. It's not, so it would be following the same. Yeah, it's the same requirements as always. All of the mini grants thus far have been delivered with STBG.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Any other questions? At least about this. I think I had one more thing to go. Oh, yes, and so we actually have a comment period open right now through, well, actually, it's probably closing next week.
March 14th.
Oh, March 14th. Oh, we pushed it back. Comment period open through March 14th on those mini grants as well as, on all of those mini grants as well as applications received under Regional Planning Affiliation 18 on the Iowa side. So if you, what I'll do is I think I'll send out an email after this. If you could boost this in whatever way your organizations do, we would like to get some public comments on it. If we could. I think that's it.
Anyone have any questions about that? Move on to item number C3 then, Madam Staff, right, legislative update.
Yeah, Carlos, do we have any? Yeah, got some stuff on here.
No. So these are just some of the carryover bills from last year. I think the LB 600 was heard about 2 weeks ago regarding automated work zone enforcement. I think that one's getting pulled from this year as well. They didn't have enough coordination and still a lot of issues pertain to that. So I think DeVore is taking that one out and not moving forward. Next slide. These would be some of the new bills we're keeping a tab on. The ones we're really focusing on are not on this slide, but some of the ones that might interest the group is LB 1005, looking at ATVs and UTVs.
On there.
Yeah, that one is, the one I'm thinking about is not, sorry. The passenger freight rail plan, that's an interesting one that we're trying to keep an eye on. We definitely support additional freight and additional passenger rail studies. I think the last plans completed by the state of Nebraska was back in 2003. So over 23 years ago. So, you know, I think that's one of the ones we're kind of looking at. Additional safety work is still being pushed forward, but I think there were 3 bills that we were looking for with regards to additional safety, the primary seatbelt law, automatic enforcement, and one with regards to speeding that didn't make this list. We'll update it. Right now, we have no calls for testimony. 2 weeks back, MAPA did attend the unicameral and testified in support of 559. Was it Jared? That was the setting up the infrastructure for the infrastructure hub and the but NDOT was there, Chamber was there, we're all in support. Next slide is just Iowa. These are kind of the main bills. Again, looking at safety, these are the ones we're trying to keep an eye on. As we go forward, some of them do cross over to property tax information. So we're trying to keep an eye on them. Don't have much information from Mike on this just yet. But as we know, we'll share. Traditionally, we do try to send out additional requests. If there is something of interest to this body and this group of work, please let us know. We'll put it into our list of bills to track as they're moving forward. It is a short session this year, so it doesn't look like a whole lot is getting moved forward. So next slide. That's it. Questions, comments?
Carlos, could we go back to the second Nebraska slide? I do want to point out LB 1126. That's a whole lot of language, basically just to say state infrastructure bank. This would basically give the highway commission the authority to administer the state infrastructure bank. NDOT would support it. That's relevant to this group because it would effectively be a revolving loan program for LPAs to access funding. The next step would be identifying where that funding comes from, whether it's rural TIFIA or a general fund transfer or something. But it's basically a stepping stone towards being able to establish that program.
And that was the one that also had the super loads, I believe. So as part of the bill, they were doing additional cleanup at the state for definition of what a super load is and the state requirements or permit fees. So it was updating the fee amounts for oversized load, oversized permits from the state that would equalize some of the fees that the state of Nebraska would have that is equal to surrounding communities. In other words, because the lower rates of oversized load, oversized permit fees at the state of Nebraska, it gets more of those vehicles into the state system. By equalizing the permit fee, the idea is. Well, it's more of a level playing. So,
And sorry, you were mentioning LD 5-8.
yes, that's,
Yeah, that is what created the infrastructure review task force. This, for now, is really just a information gathering body to inform the legislature on the growing funding gap at both the state and local levels to assess and research different levers that people to generate additional funding.
great. Any other questions, concerns?
Hey, there's this item C4, which is a safety assessment. Jim is going to provide.
But I will take over for Jim. I will harness my inner Jim. Next slide. So one of the things that we shared with this committee and our board of directors last month was general information about our performance one metrics that are due to the state. As a region, we've decided to take a policy approach to try to reach 0 by 2040. So instead of following mathematical formulas of what the trends are, we are saying by policy, we want to reach 0 and we're going to do what it takes to get to 0, right? As part of that, our board asked for additional information with regards to safety and some of the incidents of crashes taking place with vulnerable road users, and how do we dissect some of the information. Jim started doing some of that work, and this is just some of the stuff that you can see. This is just trend charts. These are available from our dashboard, so if you wish to follow along, either take a picture of the QR code or type in that performance website, and you could dig into some of these numbers a little bit further. And these are for the region. Next slide. As it pertains to vulnerable road users within the TMA, this is what we're looking at. So in the last year or so, one of the things that we've been kind of really concerned about has been this fatality rate of vulnerable road users in the last year. You see that trend number really pick up. We've traditionally seen around 10 to 11, and now in the last year or so, we've doubled that number. So that's a little bit of a concern for the region. When you're looking at it from a big regional perspective, that big of a jump is kind of surprising. We also did a trend analysis for the fatality trend for the past 5 years to kind of help smooth the curve out, right? Fatalities are typically rare occurrences within the region, but that creates these kind of big jumps. You know, you could go 1 year where you have 1 or 2 or 5, as was the case in 2021 after we were bouncing back from COVID, to now being at over 20. And so we're trying to smooth out some of that trending to be able to show more of a linear line. We've also seen, and I think to note, traditionally we've been trending down on serious injuries, but the last couple of years, that trend, the total number of serious injuries has also picked up a little bit more than we would expect. And so those are kind of big things to know, right? As a region, for Douglas, Sarpy, in the urbanized area of Potawatomi, that's a little surprising, just in general. Next slide. So we took a deeper dive and kind of separated out the incidence of crashes and fatalities per what is his per number, filtered by per person type. I don't know what he's talking about here, but the dark are the fatalities. The light green aqua color are the total number of serious injuries. of Sage. Sage, the sage color. Represents the serious injuries. We broke it out to all vulnerable users, so all vulnerable users does include motorcycles, mopeds, etc. Non-motorist really focuses on bike and pedestrian activity. And as a percent, where these are taking place more often than not are in our principal arterial networks and our local streets. Obviously, we don't anticipate a lot of fatalities on interstates for pedestrians and non-motorized users, but there are some, and those are accounted for because people are working out on the interstate. So if your car breaks down, or if you call a tow truck and the person is getting out and gets hit, it's classified as a vulnerable road user instead. And so that's why you see those small numbers on the interstate and freeway information there. But overall, we are seeing and experiencing our major problems with non-motorized movements along our arterial networks. Next slide. EMS. So one of the things, and the reason why Jim was not able to join us today is that we're also talking to the State Trauma Board. He's currently doing that. We're doing a presentation with regards to our overall Safe Streets for All program and how to get additional data and information and access to the kind of denominator for the incidence of crashes for vulnerable road users. We're trying to establish additional connections with the State Trauma Board, one of which, and this is some of the national data that we've seen, is that when EMS crews arrive nationally, 43% of people who died in a crash were alive when EMS arrived. So all this is talking about one of these very interesting features with post-crash care or the response care. If the emergency vehicle is carrying blood and administers blood, there's a higher incidence or there's a higher probability of people being able to survive deadly crashes, right? And so this is some of the work that we've been looking at national trends and things, and trying to talk to the State Trauma Board on how, as a state, we could start instituting this policy to help save lives. So it's very fascinating that 68% are alive when within our region, and I think this was just Nebraska numbers. In 2023, 68%, almost 70% of people were alive at the scene when the EMS arrived, and only 47%, 30-some percent were dead when EMS arrived at the scene. So that just means overall, instituting a policy of carrying blood within the EMS trucks increases the probability of people surviving a fatal crash. Next slide. I think that's it. So this kind of leads us to one of the requests and things that we're looking for. This year, we anticipate the Safe Streets for All grant opportunity coming out in the next month or so. What we're looking at doing is facilitating conversations with many of our communities to start doing quick pilot demonstration and implementation of safety treatments at intersections. Some of the great work that the city of Omaha has taken on through Vision Zero, from their modular installations at Woolworth at 30-some Street to their pedestrian refuge islands. Again, some of these temporary installations proving to be beneficial in saving lives. And so we want to act, and we want to partner with local communities to help implement some of these safety interventions that came out from the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. So we are looking to put together an application for the entire region to do these demonstration projects and to help facilitate the process through. Right now, we're still gathering additional information, but we're coming out to you all to tell you we're starting this. We'd like your help. Come join us. It will be fun, I promise. Questions, comments? None. Next slide. So as part of that, we developed this initial dashboard, taking all the projects that were called out in our comprehensive safety action plan. Feel free to snap a picture on the QR code there. And these are kind of the filtering process that we're going through. What are demonstration type projects that are available throughout the region? Looking at intersection and segment improvements. And I think the way we've called this out, I think we've identified the first 20 million worth of projects for the entire region. And so we're trying to gather partners. Hey, how do we make this happen? So that's our ask. That's what we're going to be working on for the next couple of weeks, months, as we gear up for a big application. Look, folks, the city of Des Moines submitted an application for 20 million in 2025. We can't let Des Moines beat us. We could do a whole lot better. Obviously,
the Des Moines MPO specific.
yeah. And so we're looking for ways to start implementing some of these pilot project treatments to help facilitate this safety conversation. We're seeing a lot of crashes involving pedestrians. How do we act in an effective, efficient manner? We would use all the tools under our toolbox to help you facilitate program agreements and get through the process as quickly as possible. If that means additional materials to purchase for bollards, paints, etc., we can make that happen. So help us help you. Again, more conversations come. We're currently scheduled to talk with NDOT and the hub next week, and then we'll be reaching out to partners in all the communities to see if you want to join us in this grand scheme of an application. So that's technically all I have for that.
And Travis Holm is online and he says, I don't play favorites, but I'm all for competition here.
I think we're done with that. Next slide, I think is FFC. So just a quick update, we're still working through the federal functional classification. November and January, December and January, we took an emergency fix for developing the FFC over by Gretna, 192nd and Cape Heart to allow or help facilitate the programs to move forward for that new interchange. Next slide. So we are trying to do a comprehensive view using our MAPA area transportation system, what we're calling MATS. It's based on open street line data. Since we do not have a regional, a linear referencing system within the region, we are using this as an existing framework. This is more kind of looking under the hood of what we're doing. Next slide. So here's the process. We're going to take the entire region, do spatial analysis, draft some FFC updates, send it to you all for review, and then do a formal final functional classification. Why does this matter? Okay, the big thing behind this is, one, it matters for federal funding. SDBG funds can only be used on collectors and above. Anything classified as local should not receive federal funds, right? If not, there are ways to change it, but it just takes longer. So help us help you. Two, we coordinate and work with both the state and federal government on designating which corridors fit which functional classification. Overall, we're trying to achieve a balance in the total number of lane miles, et cetera, that are maintained as arterials, collectors, and local streets. So that's what we do. Next slide, I think, should be where you can see our current viewer. This is great work by Josh, Ally, and Jim. If you haven't noticed, we are trying to use more GIS-based mapping to share our information, share it with you, share it in a timely fashion, and make sure that updates are responsive to your needs. So this is what we currently have. We'll be using this to collect and facilitate discussions once we do our regional spatial analysis. So more to come. I think we're scheduled to have this. We're trying to get all this done by the fall. If it slides, it might have to slide, but our intent is to update all these before the end of the year. Next slide. And that's it.
Questions for Carlos? It was a good long update. Be helpful to know. Questions, now would be the time. Hearing none, we'll move on to our agency updates. We certainly have time for meetings. Starting with Linda.
Nothing special from the planning side, outside of the fact that we had our public meeting for the new interchange last week at 192nd. Pretty good turnout, had over 200 people show up. I didn't get any bad impressions, I don't know if there were any other opinions about the new interchange. It seemed like it was pretty well received. We'll see how that fall plays out.
Well, we have a couple of carryovers from last year. At I-480 Missouri River Bridge, they haven't started back up, but they will. And they'll be working the other half of the decks. So they'll be closing lanes when we get to that point. There's like one high mast tower on 680 down on 30th Street, Dillon version. They got one more to put up. Let's see, Dodge Street. They have some permanent striping and bridge goes in, they'll complete this spring. And then 72nd now, that's ongoing. We should be completed by November 26th. And then some new ones coming up. 80 from the Platte River to Millard East. That's a concrete sealer project. That'll be night work. Another one is a box repair up by Nashville on 75. Let's see another one. We're putting up a noise wall on the west side of 80. Right along where that new apartment complex is. I forget what they call it, but that's going in there. And then 75, bridge repair, phase 2. It'll be, I think 3 areas where coming from the south, working north. Like we were doing last year, deck repairs and approach replacements if we have to. And then another one, Highway 50 from Nebraska, Highway 1 into Louisville. That'll be a mill overlay. And let's see, another one, 80 from the Platte River to Millard. Another thing, it's gonna be a concrete sealer project. That should be night work. Highway 36 from 133 to 132nd. It's a mill and overlay and the bridge repair. Then the big one, 680, Pacific to Dodge Street, we're adding lanes there. And we got another little job, I-80, 96th Street, culvert repair. Another one out there, 275 is in West Dodge roundabout, that'll start off. And then another one here, I-80 from Highway 50 to 50th Street, pavement repair and concrete sealer. LD not work. And then we got another one at 72nd to 84th westbound. Off ramp, repair.
That's just morphin asphalt.
Yeah, okay, that's right. And then we got another, along 275, more high mast towers being put in. That's what's gonna be happening this year.
We have a number of studies that are moving forward. We had a meeting get canceled last night, postponed, I should say, for the Northwest Radial Highway Safety Study. But that is moving along. Our Ames Avenue Safety Study, we expect that to be done later this summer. You know, one thing just for the group on that particular project, we have a resurfacing project coming up the road. And so we've been able to take advantage of some of the preliminary results from that study and we're going to incorporate some of the changes that are coming out of the safety study. So it's almost like an interim construction project that will be done really for studies. So some of the implementation is getting fast tracked just because we can do some of it with a resurfacing project this summer. So I think that's really beneficial and helpful. Just wanted to share that for the group. It's kind of a creative thing that our staff came up with and did a good job on. Has done a great job getting implemented. We've got the bridge over 680 at Farnham is really moving along really well. The west side abutment is done. We're putting piling on the east side right now. Hawkins is moving really quickly on that, so by sometime late spring we'll start seeing some girders come up. Looking to have that wrapped up later in the year, probably closer to early summer as opposed to late summer. That's obviously part of our streetcar project, which is wreaking havoc on downtown. But it's open. Downtown is open. You can get where you're going. It's challenging at times. 72nd and D Bridge is looking like April completion on that one. Had some hangups with the railroad early on, kind of set us back on that particular project. Missing anything, Brian? If I do, you can pick it up when it comes.
We got 84th Street, the new bridge between Parkview Boulevard and Brentwood. Ongoing, weather has really helped. Contractors got a lot done. So that'll continue on that project. Weather has allowed us to do a lot of base repair for this up here's UBAS program. Got a lot of concrete knocked out. Giles Road widening, this is from the interstate to West Giles Road, considering the final design on that project. And then new signal at 99th and Giles Road, and all the bases are in. Have they delivered any metal yet?
Supposed to get the poles in the next week or two.
That's it.
I only had 13th Street walkability study is kind of in the middle of the process right now. So that's a public engagement coming up in the next month or so.
The only thing I was gonna add was, maybe Jeff recently mentioned it last month, but our signal system program is ongoing, but we're almost fully funded and construction will continue through 2029, but we're actually gonna issue an RFP to kind of update our signal system master plan. We'll continue to build out everything in the current plan, but it's just kind of taking a fresh look at things, looking ahead to the next 15 years or so, to figure out kind of what do we need to focus on next. So it's not intended to replace anything we've done. It'll build upon that foundation, I like to say. So probably won't be as infrastructure heavy, but kind of look organizationally and staffing wise, and how do we reorient what we do. Now we've got that big effort behind us, so the program agreement's been approved, so I'm thinking within the next couple of weeks hopefully within the next month for sure, there'll be an RFP issued, so for consultants in the room. If you haven't heard about it, please consider submitting on that, and some of the public agencies will probably be coordinating with you once that plan gets up and running, so. If you have any questions, let me know.
Nothing for me.
I don't really have any project updates, but one thing I thought of on the legislative side, so there is matching bills in the House and Senate on the Iowa side for update to SUDAS board in particular. So lobbyists for developers and house builders have decided that they should be represented on the board to determine the standards for infrastructure. Which I think most people in this room would disagree with, since we're gonna own and maintain it. It doesn't make sense for a house builder to determine how we're gonna build roads, or sewers, or et cetera. But they've already talked, one example is, they don't think rock base is necessary under roads. And we should not have that in SUDAS, and if we do, then the local jurisdiction should pay for it. Things like that, so obviously we're opposed to that new legislation, we'll see where it goes, but I don't understand the logic that a developer should be able to determine the standards for infrastructure for a local jurisdiction. It just doesn't make sense, but they've convinced at least a few legislators that that does make sense.
Affordability.
Yeah, well, and that's what they're hiding under, is that they're gonna reduce the cost of homes, which we all know they're gonna sell the home for what they can get for it, regardless of what it costs to build it. But that's what they're, the governor said, I want more affordable housing. They're saying the way to do that is to spend less on roads, less on infrastructure. I don't think that's gonna benefit the ultimate home buyer, but it's gonna put money in somebody's pocket.
Does Iowa use sanitary improvement districts for development?
It's not permitted, at this time. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges we have as well.
Cause Austin, like, could you remind me, like, on the Nebraska side, they still have to meet minimum requirements, but most of the times the SIDs have not maintained those requirements. Wasn't that, well, like, with harkening back a long time ago, that the city of Omaha took over several SIDs and their roadways did not meet minimum requirements for this, for the city of Nebraska, and that's where heads were butting.
No, I think, I mean, I know what you're referring to, but, so I think one of the issues that we have in Omaha is areas that we have where you're pre-SID. SID number 1 is Old Mudville or somewhere in that vicinity around. So I think there's some, there was, I think we didn't have the extraterritorial jurisdiction when some of the early SIDs were built. So I think that's part of the issue, is that we didn't have authority or standards within that developing regions. I think where that extraterritorial jurisdiction comes in is now that they have to abide by city standards. That's where we got the teeth to enforce those standards on SID.
And that's why there's no list, anything in our ETJ has to be to city standards.
So what, how different are the city standards from the county standards, I guess? Cause you guys are butting up against the county, right? And so if a county approves an SID who's, and this is just this is what I am assuming some of the problems exist, right? If there are different standard plans, standard plates given to SIDs out in the county that don't meet the minimum thresholds of the city, when this, right, that's the edge cases where that would happen, right?
Sarpy County has basically gone to where they will require whatever ETG, whatever city will have that within their ETJ at some point in time, they're making the build of those subdivisions. And again, that's for urban designs.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, but I think, you would still have that case where you might have something that doesn't go through kind of a normal subdivision process where somebody's actually they're doing things in a sense. Those are the ones that count.
Mm-hmm.
project wise, in House Bluffs, we're running up against delays on our 9th Avenue Bridge project. For cultural resources. So.
Speaking of legislation, is anybody in the room familiar with the Local Officials for Transportation Coalition? Hadn't heard of them before last week myself. They have supported a bill that has actually been introduced as a bipartisan bill at the federal level called the Basics Act. And at the teeth of it, it would fundamentally shift federal formula funds from about an 85-15 split to a 75-25 split between state and local. Impacts with HSIP, bridge formula, NHPP, all of it. There's specific implications for MPOs. Some things that would be favorable at the local and MPO level, to be perfectly honest. The MPO stuff doesn't necessarily impact how I see it, but from a DOT level, don't want to see it. I think we would, just to be honest with it, because it would shift some of those funds away. But I know our leadership is to discuss it. I've shared it with MAPA and the other MPOs across Nebraska. This is just, it's a proposal at this time, but obviously has pretty significant implications for the next reauthorization bill. Speaking of which, I'm hearing conflicting things about whether that will occur under this Congress or the next one. I think we all know the current Congress would love it to happen before the midterms. So we'll see how that plays out, but that's what I know so far. If you're curious about the Basics Act, just Google Basics Act, take you right to it. You can look at it. I shared a link with Carlos or Lindsay that they could share with the group too if they want. And then last time there was a couple questions about NEVI. Eric, I think you got connected with Jenny, right?
I mean,
Okay. If anyone does have any other specific questions about NEVI, please find me after and I can get you Jenny on his contact information. Mike had a question about second phase. I hate to do this, but the honest answer is we don't know what the second phase of NEVI is. We're getting the first phase under agreement and obligation right now. My understanding is there's about $15 million in NEVI funds at the Nebraska level to obligate prior to the end of IIJA, which is September 30th. We don't know if NEVI will carry into a future authorization bill or not. We don't know if it will be, what will happen to those funds. We do know that under the Consolidated Appropriations Act, that some of those funds were rescinded. So I think there was about 8 million that was taken back from Nebraska and sent elsewhere. So second phase questions, if you do have more curiosity, I would invite you to reach out to Jenny, because she'll be able to share what is there. But when I met with her a couple weeks ago, it was, we don't really know. And I think that's probably pretty standard across a lot of states that haven't committed all of those funds yet.
Not really, City of Gretna's got keep going on the interchanges. We have a huge 2026 planning year, and 2027 will be a huge construction year with the us and the county jointly. So
Understatement.
yeah, so it's kind of what we got going
The NRD is looking at a collection of safe trail connections, riverfront trail connectors at Dick Collins Road, at Craig Park, and at Minnelusa Boulevard. So crossings at John J. Pershing to provide access from the neighborhoods over to an existing regional trail, the riverfront trail. We've got consultant requests out on all three of those. And then continuing that west, been working with the planning department and the parks department on their updated master plans, which identify two significant east-west corridors north of Dodge to get people access from roughly the Keystone Trail all the way to the Riverfront Trail. And so there's conceptual studies along kind of Forest Lawn Creek and a rail corridor, and then along Mill Creek all the way up by McKinley. So those studies should help inform future connectivity. The Mill Creek follows on some work to that coordinates with Metro, because there's a employment center on the north side of McKinley. that doesn't currently have transit access. But we're told that if there's pedestrian access to Mormon Bridge Road and McKinley, there's pedestrian access there, then they could have transit access there. And so hopefully by studying for a active transportation connection, that would allow transit to go to that location where jobs are available. And if people don't have individual automobile transportation options, they could then get there by other means. So we hope to see that moving forward. From a federal standpoint, I'm coordinating court on the Sorensen 72nd underpass. That's kind of the westernmost end of that long corridor, Forest Lawn and the rail corridor. So again, from Keystone all the way to the river is the intended long-term outcome. And the federal aid project, the Sorensen 72nd underpass, to submit that document to initiate that project probably next week after some comments back from MAPA. So thank you for your assistance on that. We recently had a meeting with some folks from Cass County, to talk about trail connectivity and just kind of a long-term forward look. Some of the preliminary planning we want to make sure to include for the Highway 50 bridge over the Platte River. There's no current plans from NDOT as far as I understand for any specific design or even construction eventually, but in MAPA's objective of long-term regional connectivity, the Highway 50 bridge has been identified to include active transportation into the preliminary design considerations. And so again, no specific steps, but I took a note in our long-term file of the Mopac Trail currently uses the lead bridge, but there's another opportunity when the Highway 50 bridge is reconstructed between Sarpy and Cass, whenever that happens at some number of years into the future, to make sure and incorporate the active transportation into the preliminary design. We had some work on that on the Highway 3475 bridge. It was to widen the piers and then add the trail later. But the intention here would be to hopefully incorporate design for the Highway 50 bridge to include the active transportation at the time of reconstruction. Because putting the trail on later was more complicated and more expensive. So whatever is necessary to get preliminary design for that structure to include the active transportation at the time of the original design is what we hope to get to eventually. The same is true on the Q Street project from Douglas County. I don't think Douglas County is here, but their preliminary work on the Q Street bridge of the Elkhorn River is also incorporating active transportation into the structure at the time, and then connections on each end would come after the bridge is completed. So that's some real long-term preliminary planning, but I took a note, and I hope other agencies in the area will also take a note that Highway 50, let's make sure and get the active transportation onto the structure when the initial design is done. And then I guess I had an initial question. We have looked at the West Papio Trail connection, and we have described it as under West Maple. I understand there is a study from Public Works on the West Maple corridor from roughly 680 all the way out to Elkhorn. So we are realigning the trail connection in the area to, rather than go under the structure, come up to and cross West Maple at about 165th at the existing intersection and signal. Hopefully to upgrade the pedestrian facilities in that location, because people are crossing at that location now, although there is no dedicated pedestrian facility. So we would like to build the trail on the south side to give them better active transportation access in an area that is an SID outside of Omaha's current jurisdiction. But the question is, where is the West Maple corridor study at right now? I have anticipated that that location would be identified. It's an older structure, and so I figured somewhere between Public Works and NDOT, that structure would probably be identified for replacements from the West Maple corridor study in the future, and we shouldn't try and force a complicated trail underpass at that location now, but instead wait for the West Maple study to identify this probably needs to be replaced, and then incorporate the underpass at the time of the new structure construction. So do you have an update by chance, or is there someone I can talk to about what is going on in West Maple?
It's underway. I haven't had a status report in a while, for that.
I think it's close to being kicked off. Oh, Dan Carpenter from Benish is on the call. Dan, do you know the status of that? Christie's.
Yeah, I can talk about it a little bit. So we are working through the preliminary traffic modeling as well as some corridor modeling related to sidewalk, storm sewer infrastructure along that stretch to identify if there's a potential break point in the widening. It's good information on the potential trail connections, and that's a point of coordination that'll be occurring over the upcoming months to coordinate with the NRD and other local agencies to identify existing and future planning efforts for modifications of the multimodal infrastructure in the area.
Great.
So we'll be
appreciate it.
reaching out.
Yep, thank you. And even just knowing it's better she's doing the work, that's very helpful for me. So I'll get in touch with Dan to coordinate design on the trail connection now. And again, anticipating that the underpass should probably wait until finalization of that study and identification of what will happen with that structure. Because it's a weird pile structure that, in my opinion, probably is destined for replacement when widening comes by. Don't want to presume anything right now, but it just looks like trying to force an underpass there now would be more complicated. We should probably do an at-grade crossing and then assume the underpass at the time of the reconstruction. So I appreciate the coordination with everybody, and I'll follow up with Benish on that one. Thanks.
Okay, that's all our updates.
I do have one last thing, sorry. I figured I'd at least note, we do have a public open house before our next TTAC, so on March 19th. Regarding I-680 reconstruction from Fort to Blair High, if anyone wants to piggyback off that and pay us a visit, but I figured I'd bring that up, seeing as it's on our calendar. We got a lot of public meetings coming up over the next several months with studies and everything else, so.
So Maurice, did you say that roundabout was at 275 in Dodge?
Yeah.
Is that the location?
Well, yeah, you know where the stop sign is
Right.
now. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Updates from anyone online?
Yeah, we're following some of the same legislation you guys are federally. We're not prepared to make a comment on the Basics Act just yet. Still kind of trying to see what others of our peers are doing, but also what our member jurisdictions are doing. On our side of the river's legislature, we're mostly following property tax bills just to see what the impact is on local jurisdictions and their ability to build infrastructure on their own. There's been a lot of talk at some of these other meetings that I attend statewide that express a lot of concerns about getting more state and federal money to jurisdictions because of what they perceive to be a lack of property tax collection in the state of Iowa. So we're keeping an eye on that too. We're not really sure what we're going to comment if we do, but we're staying comprised of that. Those are kind of the big things that we have. There's a bill that's probably not going to get through on the gas tax, at least being indexed to inflation. Because I think right now the DOT has about 60%, roughly, don't quote me there, buying power that it had pre-COVID, since the gas tax is the same as it was pre-COVID. So obviously with inflation that all of you guys know about, it affects us too. So there's a discussion of there was a hope that we could get the gas tax raised and then indexed to a point where we at least had the same buying power we had in, say, 2018, 2019. But we're going to be hitting a funnel here soon. So we're keeping an eye on all that, and then we provide our comments as we see fit. So if there's ever any opinions that you guys have as a MPO or as a local jurisdiction, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll at least shoot it up the food chain.
Thanks, Travis.
Oh, and one more thing. MAPA has its TMA review this year, but I'm still waiting on the feds to coordinate that. So fun.
Hearing no more updates, we'll move on to item number 7, which is additional business.
Andy Wicks on Potco, you unmuted for a sec. Do you have something?
I was just gonna say that there's no updates for Pot County.
Thanks, Eddie. Now,
Okay, additional business. See, we could have caught up here too.
We got this, just a reminder, we have our council of officials. Hosted in Iowa this time, we're on the other side of the river, March 11th. There's gonna be the main speaker is gonna be energy related. So if you have questions about energy and how the region is gonna look in terms of energy and energy production, come on over. We'll also be introducing some of the work that we're doing for trips in our work plan in March. Next slide. So sign up, do your thing. As a just general reminder, we're still doing Heartland 2050 site visits. We're going to Detroit. That should be coming up. I don't know if Laura closed the application. I think there might still be some slots. Here's the information for that. Usually good times. Great information for the ones I've been to. Again, it lets us explore and look at what other communities have done. Detroit is a very fascinating city that has gone from a large population to smaller population to a now rebuilding population. So in terms of urban landscape and dynamics, very interesting playground. In terms of what they've been doing in the last several years. So sign up, come on board, let's go check out Detroit.
And I'll send out links to these things posting. I think that's.
There should be, if you close out the slide deck, or there's one additional slide, Jim wanted me to mention quick, there is an upcoming training through NDOT for their ash to wear safety tool. That's coming up on March 24th, that's available to public officials. There's a whole bunch of information on the slide. Imagine Court will send out some info after the meeting, but just save the date to let people know that this is coming up and a great safety tool opportunity to get in on that. So I don't know if Jared has any other info on that training or not, but probably not. Yeah, so ash to wear safety is the new crash reporting software that NDOT is rolling out across the state. So this training is just providing local public officials with an opportunity to learn some of the new features in there.
So we've had access to it, City of Omaha, Nick and Jeff Subcheck and a couple of others have had insights into the very powerful tool. It does provide easy to use analysis for whatever part of the region you're looking at. So pretty powerful tool, rather than having to request and download data, this kind of aggregates the data and lets you look holistically at some of your crash incidences within your community, within the corridor, within intersections, et cetera, et cetera. Very powerful. Definitely, if you're not signed up, sign up to do this. Sorry, Iowa folks, this is just Nebraska based. You guys have to use ICANN.
Quick question from the consulting side. Has there been any discussion on training for consultant agencies?
I think, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think it's just public officials and public agencies right now. But that might be a question for Dan.
I'll speak up. Dan, you can reach out to Don Butler and get looped in. They have periodic trainings. I've been on a couple of them, so if you reach out to Don, he'll loop you in.
All right, I appreciate it, Tim. Thanks.
How do we get sent up?
We'll send out a link.
I'll send one, yeah. I'll send out some info that, yeah, report this afternoon.
Right, thank you. Any other additional business? Future meetings and events, MAPA Board of Directors, February 26th. Next TTAC meeting is March 20th and RPAC is April 3rd. So if there's nothing else to talk about, I take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Thanks everybody.